The English Premier League is about to kick off, and I thought it would be a great idea to keep my predictions, just to see how wrong I am at the end of the season. I don't want this to be a long video, so I'm not gonna go in depth of every team I place, just the ones I think deserve an explanation. Starting off with the relegation zone, I put Bournemouth, Leeds and Brentford. So in every prediction I see, Bournemouth is usually in the relegation zone, and I have to agree with them. I think Bournemouth is gonna relegate this season, and I put them as bottom in my table. Followed by Leeds, who last season barely escaped the relegation in the last match day. And now losing Rafinha and Calvin Phillips, I don't think they're gonna stand a chance, and they're gonna finally go back to the championship. The last relegated team might be a bit surprising, because Brentford actually finished 13th in the last season, but I believe that with Eriksen leaving and other teams stepping up, Brentford are gonna relegate next year. The next three teams are gonna be Nottingham Forest, Fulham and Everton. Now Forest and Fulham just promoted to the Premier League, and I expect them to hold on to their Premier League spot, at least for this season. They were both very solid squads, and I think it will barely be enough to stay in the Prem, just because I consider that the teams below them are slightly worse. As for Everton, I know they barely escaped relegation last season, and they are doing very bad in this pre-season, but I don't think Everton are going down. I see a lot of overreactions. I think Everton are going to have the capacity to stay in the Prem. Even if I predict them to have another bad season, I still think they'll have enough to stay in the Premier League. They'll have enough to turn it around if things are going poorly, because Everton are just a bigger club than the others that are behind them. And yes, bigger clubs can go down, but I think history matters a lot in football, and usually the bigger teams come in clutch in difficult situations. So that's why I don't think Everton are going down this season. Moving a bit up in the standings, we have Southampton, Crystal Palace and Brighton. Now Southampton, I expect them to stay pretty much in the same place they were before, nothing too surprising. Crystal Palace are a team I really like, because they've been developing a youth system that seems to be working for them, but I think they are going to stay in the middle of the table once again. Brighton is a team that surprised me last season. I think they surprised everyone. They have a lot of good players like Trossard, Alexis McAllister, Cucurella, but now Cucurella seems to be leaving for Man City. It's a bit rumor that's going on right now. So if they lose Cucurella, I expect them to start going down through the middle of the season and end up in that 12th spot. Just above Brighton, we are gonna have Wolves, Leicester and Aston Villa. Now Wolves to me is a team that has seemed very inconsistent. At times they seem like they could get into European spots, and at times they don't deserve to be in the top 10. I think they're gonna just miss out on the top 10 this season. I haven't heard much of their transfer window, and I don't think their striker Jimenez is that good. I just don't trust the striker, and I don't think they have the squad to make it into the top 10. The team I have in the top 10 is Leicester, who I think are gonna decline a bit more. Last time they finished 8th and out of European competitions, and I expect that to remain the case. Leicester have been in the decline lately. Before they were contesting top teams, contesting for top 4 or at least getting into Europa League. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the decline is gonna continue, and there's gonna be the rise of other teams like Aston Villa. Aston Villa, who were very disappointing last season, but with the signings of players like Coutinho or Luca Digne at middle of the season, they've improved their game a little bit, and I expect them to improve a little more. Not enough to get into Conference League or Europa League in my opinion, but I still think that their squad is pretty solid. Emiliano Martinez in goal, Danny Ings in the attack. I think they are a decent team, and they are 9th in my Premier League. Now on to the top 8, and the 8th team who will barely miss on European competition will be West Ham. Now West Ham is a team that I'm very impressed with. I think they are gonna keep up their form from last season, but I don't think it will be enough to get into Europe this time. I feel like the double competition, now that they are playing the Conference League this season, is gonna hurt them. They're not gonna have the squad to keep up with 2 competitions, and that's gonna drag them down a bit. In 7th place, and this is a controversial one, I have Chelsea. Now Chelsea were in 3rd place last season. They got into the Champions League. They got to the Champions League quarterfinals where they lost to eventual champions Real Madrid. And they were contesting the Premier League. They were close to Liverpool and Man City at some point, but I think this season it's not gonna be a good season for them. Tuchel has already expressed concerns about the team because of the signings that were or were not made actually. Their preseason has been terrible so far. I basically think that Chelsea is gonna implode. I think that Tuchel is gonna quit or is gonna get sacked middle of the season because of what he said in the preseason, like not having any signings. Like he's pointing towards the board as the problem, and if the results are not with him, I think like the board will try to get rid of Tuchel and get someone else in the job who can work with what they got. I don't think it's gonna be enough. I think like the internal issues are gonna mess with the players, because Chelsea definitely has good players to make it into the top 4 again, but I feel like the internal problems that the club is having is gonna drag them down, and they are gonna end in 7th in the Conference League spots. Now the 6th place team is gonna be Newcastle. I think that Newcastle is gonna get into Europa League this season. Of course, at the start of last season, Newcastle started at the very bottom. They were fighting to not get relegated, but when the second half of the season started, Newcastle started picking up a lot of points. If you look at only the second half of the season, Newcastle was one of the better teams. So that tells to me that Newcastle have improved a lot, and if at the later stages of last season they were really good, I feel like that momentum is gonna continue now with the big influx of money that's coming to them. I feel like Newcastle is gonna ramp up and get into the Europa League. Now in 5th place I have Arsenal. If you look at how Arsenal finished their season, you should expect them to make top 4. But I just don't really trust them that much. I feel like, yes, the team they got is pretty solid, it's been pretty dynamic, and seeing their rise was very surprising. It was very good to see. I think that signing Gabriel Jesus is going to be super good for them, and their preseason has looked pretty solid as well. But I don't think that double competition is going to be that beneficial to them. I think they are going to just miss out on top 4 once again, and they are gonna have to be happy with playing in Europa League again. Now on to the top 4, and the team I have in the 4th position is gonna be Manchester United. Now, why am I trusting United? Like, we all know that trusting United after the last season is a terrible idea, but I somehow still believe in Ten Hag. I feel like Ten Hag is gonna do very well with what he's got. I feel like he's gonna apply his playstyle that he had at Ajax with Manchester United, especially since he's getting some players back like Lisandro Martinez, Malacia. There's a rumor about Frankie de Jong. You have Eriksen coming in. So if these players come together and work under Ten Hag, under his philosophy of game of possession, I feel like Manchester United could get into top 4, go that step further. I mean, it all comes down if they keep Cristiano Ronaldo as well, but even without Ronaldo I feel like they could do very well. I have faith in them. I don't know why. I'm sure this will come back to bite me, but I honestly don't care. I'm gonna put Manchester United in the top 4. So my 3rd team is actually gonna be Liverpool. Now I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm slightly biased here, but I'm putting them 3rd because Sadio Mane was such a heavy loss for us, and I just feel like other teams had a better transfer window than us. We're gonna get to that pretty soon. Now I feel like Carvalho and Darwin Núñez are very good signings in their own, but I feel like this team is not gonna be able to push for that Premier League title that all of us Liverpool fans want. It's for sure gonna be enough to make top 4 because Klopp has showed such consistency in the Premier League with this squad and with squads we had before. He always beats the lower end teams and is always fighting, contesting for that Premier League title. He would have won Premier League multiple times by now if it wasn't because Manchester City was just so amazing every single season. We won so many games, we did so many points, and yet sometimes it wasn't enough because Manchester City was just a little bit better than us. But I feel like this time we will end up in 3rd place. So I'm gonna keep the faith that we are gonna make top 4 with this team. I feel like it will be enough, but I don't see us pushing for the title this season. In 2nd place, I'm gonna have Spurs. Now, Spurs have made a huge signing window. They got Perisic, they got Bissouma, they got Richarlison. They have probably the best attack in the league with Kulusevski, Kane and Son, the joint golden boot of last season. Now Perisic is gonna join Rodrigo Bentancur in the midfield, and with Christian Romero in the back, Eric Dyer as well. I feel like they're gonna be super solid. Hugo Lloris, an amazing goalkeeper as well. I feel like this team under Conte has it all to push for that 2nd spot. I don't see them winning Prem just because they are Spurs and because there is a better team in my opinion, but I still feel like they'll be pushing for it. They'll be close, they'll be contesting, maybe it's decided in the last match day, but for now I'm gonna have to put Spurs in the 2nd place of this Premier League, and that leaves us with only one team. Of course, it's Manchester City. Now obviously this is a very boring prediction for a champion, but we have to stay true to the facts here. Manchester City have been the best team in England for a long time now under Pep, and this squad just seems to get better and better every transfer window, you know? They got a massive deal for Erling Haaland as well as Julian Alvarez, two absolute steals. These two players just are gonna link up so well together. Erling Haaland, an amazing striker in Europe, one of the more deadly strikers right now. He's gonna fit so well in Prem in my opinion. Julian Alvarez is maybe the perfect striker for Pep. He's so flexible and it's gonna be perfect for rotating the squad like Pep always does. Mahrez is still gonna be there, Foden is gonna be there, Bernardo Silva, Ederson in goal. You're still gonna have Kyle Walker, Kevin De Bruyne, man. This guy is just so good. He does everything so well. Such a baller. I feel like there's no way that Manchester City are not gonna win Prem once again. I know this is a boring prediction. Everyone is saying that Manchester City is gonna win the Premier League again. It'll be a shock for sure if Manchester City don't win the Premier League this season. So yeah, congratulations to Manchester City for winning the 22-23 Premier League. And those are gonna be my predictions, but what are yours? Make sure to tell me down in the comments or in Discord. You know you can find me there. I'm gonna see you guys next time.